It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I've had to chime in about this. You guys know that we have been speaking about Naoya Inoue probably more than any American boxing content creator over the last, better part of more than half a decade. It's actually closer to a decade than it is half a decade since the first Inoue video I ever made. And I covered this Inoue Fulton fight before, during, and we're definitely doing it after, in the aftermath. And Naoya Inoue he's arrived. I feel like he's officially arrived because his name is on the lips of everybody in boxing, from Mike Tyson to channels on YouTube to anyone you can think of. And now his name is now on the lips of quite possibly the biggest name in boxing right now, outside of Mike Tyson, of course. And that's none other than Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Money Mayweather recently did an interview with Ben Thompson of Fight Hype. Much respect to Ben Thompson of Fight Hype. I've had the chance to work with him for Fight Hype very briefly earlier this year. So I got a lot of respect for Ben Thompson, and knowing his story and knowing what he's done in the sport of boxing. You'll never hear me slight Ben Thompson. I got a lot of love for Ben Thompson, the other BT in boxing. But Ben Thompson from Fight Hype, he came out of retirement. My main man Ben Heyman, because you don't really see him in front of the camera as much. He did his interview with Floyd Mayweather, and you guys know that Ben did a lot of interviews with Floyd Mayweather back in the day. And I kind of felt like I was back in 2009 and 2010 and 2015 watching some of these interviews with Floyd and Ben from Fight Hype. They spoke on a lot. They spoke on a lot of topics, but Floyd took all those topics and made them about him, which I always find impressive. And one of those topics was Naoya Inoue. And Floyd, let's be real, he's very, very, very smart with how he words things. He's a very intelligent person when it comes to dealing with the media and making statements. And Floyd Mayweather, in his own way, demeaned Naoya Inoue. He downplayed Naoya Inoue's accomplishments, and there was a lot of hypocrisy and double standards. So I wanted to call those things out and just give my assessment, because I do think Floyd is being a hypocrite. Straight up and down. And I'm speaking as a guy who's a Floyd fan. As I've gotten older, I wasn't a Floyd fan when I was younger, but, as I've gotten older and you mature and you start to understand the sport of boxing more, I am a Floyd fan, but I'm also fair, I'm fair, and I gotta be content to tell the truth here on True School Sports. So with that being said, here's what Floyd said about the monster. He stated the following, and I quote, "Even though Inoue got the victory over Stephen Fulton is not a heavy puncher. Nonito Donaire was giving him fits in the first fight. If I'm not mistaken, Donaire was close to 40, so he should have knocked him out in the first fight. What I need Inoue to do is to come to fight in the USA. Random blood and urine testing. I think he's a hell of a fighter. He takes a lot of stuff from my playbook, but it's okay. You're supposed to take from the greats. I would like to see him fight Devonte Davis at a catchweight." End quote. So, a lot of stuff to unpack there. So, first and foremost, let's start with Donaire. Right? I guess we'll start with Donaire. First of all, Nonito Donaire is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I genuinely feel like for Inoue, right? If you look at his career so far, he's dominated everyone he's fought. He hasn't lost a whole lot of rounds. Never mind having a close fight. The way I look at that fight for him is basically that's his Jose Luis Castillo fight. That's his Jose Luis Castillo fight where basically he had a tough fight. He found a way to win. When there was a rematch, he won more clear. For him, that's his Jose. What Jose Luis Castillo was to Floyd on a much lesser scale, that's what Donaire was to Inoue. And when he got the rematch, he won in more convincing fashion. So that's what I would classify as hating on Floyd. He's hating on Inoue. He's sipping on that guava haterade. And he's sliding Inoue's win over a future first ballot Hall of Famer. So that's point number one. Point number two. And by the way, before I move to point number 2, it doesn't matter if he knocked him out or didn't knock him out. It wasn't a controversial win. And at the end of the day, it's all about getting your hand raised. Floyd didn't look great in every fight. Floyd had some stinkers. Floyd had some fights where people thought he lost, like the first Maidana fight, the first Castillo fight. So let's just be fair and unbiased here, okay? That's point number 1. Point number 2, okay? He mentions that Naoya Inoue needs to come to the USA and he needs to do random blood and urine testing. Now, where have we heard these words before from Floyd? We heard these words when it came to the Manny Pacquiao fight, right? Manny Pacquiao, I'm not gonna ever put it past any fighter in boxing to be on, you know, performance enhancing drugs. At that level, there is a lot of stuff that goes on, right? So I'm not putting it past Manny. I'm not putting it past Floyd. I'm not putting it past even like fighters I like. I wouldn't put it past Roman Gonzalez or Terrence Crawford or even Inoue. That's just where I'm at. However, let's also be fair. Let's be fair. Floyd accused Manny of being on PEDs all these years, and Manny was drinking those Alex Ariza special shakes. Who did Floyd hire later on in his career? And I'm pretty sure he did. If my memory is supposed to be correct, but I'll look it up just to fact check myself, and you guys can watch me fact check myself. Who did Floyd hire years later? He said he hired Alex Ariza, and in fact, I'm not gonna play the interview. All right, I'm not gonna play the interview. However, Floyd did an interview on Fight Hype, as you can see behind me. And he mentioned Alex Ariza being the key to Manny Pacquiao's success and those kind of things. So yeah, Floyd hired Alex Ariza. He hired Alex Ariza to be part of his camp and leave Pacquiao. And to make matters worse, he didn't just hire Alex Ariza for any random fight. He hired Alex Ariza for the Manny Pacquiao fight. So ain't that some shit? You go ahead and you hire the guy that was the conditioning coach for the fighter. You insinuated blatantly and stated blatantly that he's on PEDs all those years. So Floyd is being a hypocrite. Floyd is being a hypocrite because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, oh, that guy's on PEDs, that guy's on steroids, and then you hire the guy that was his conditioning coach, and then you just want to, you know, act like everything's all fine and dandy. No. So let's just have it right, and let's put that out there. Floyd Mayweather is like a lot of people, a lot of I don't even want to say boxing fans, but he's like a lot of people who have channels here on YouTube. He's like a lot of racist boxing fans on YouTube. You know, a lot of racist boxing fans who don't like Naoya Inoue. For some strange reason, it bothers them that, you know, an Asian fighter is doing his thing and being successful and showing boxing skills and boxing mastery. And they gotta always say, oh, it's foul play. He's not doing the right thing. He's cheating. And I'm not saying he's incapable of cheating. Every fighter is. But this is the same Floyd Mayweather that when Jeremy Lin, the basketball player, back in what was it, like 2012. Way back in like the early, 2012, 2013, way back when Jeremy Lin had the whole insanity to run in the NBA. This is the same Floyd Mayweather who don't have shit to do with basketball. Okay, he don't have nothing to do with basketball. He just goes to games and he bets on games when he goes to, you know, he don't have nothing to do with basketball. He was commenting on Jeremy Lin saying, oh, Jeremy Lin is overrated and he's getting, you know, credit for things black players do all the time and this, that, and the third. And mind you, Jeremy Lin was no all-star, but at the time, at that particular moment, he was doing his thing. He had a 2-week stretch where he was playing. He had an out-of-body experience, and he parlayed that into a great career. Got some good contracts, made some good money. Actually wound up being on a championship team with the Raptors in 2019. But we don't talk about those things. He only talked about Jeremy Lin when he wanted to downplay him, and he only said Jeremy Lin was doing his thing because he was Asian. So Floyd has a history of doing these kind of things, and I think he's a hypocrite in so many ways when it comes to what he said in the Fight Hype interview about Inoue. And then to make matters worse, he caps the whole thing off by saying that he would like to see Inoue fight Devonte Davis at a catchweight. Now, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, why, like, you know, I have Inoue and Crawford pound for pound number one as my joint pound for pound number one. But stuff like this is why I think Inoue might just be pound for pound number one all by himself, because this dude just had his first fight at 122. Just fought the number one guy, Stephen Fulton, at 122. Beat the brakes off of him. And we're talking about he need to go up to lightweight and fight Devonte Davis. Now, I find it very funny because you want Inoue, Floyd wants Inoue to do things he wouldn't do. You know, Floyd, I remember vividly in you know, when Gennady Golovkin was getting a lot of hype in boxing, he said that Gennady Golovkin was straight up and down, no special effects. And he said that he would go up to middleweight. He said if he could go up to 160 and fight him, he would. But you know why he didn't go to 160 and fight him? Because there's weight classes for a reason. That's why he didn't go up there. And he respected the weight classes, and he made a smart decision by not going up to 160, right? So he wants Inoue to do things he wouldn't do his damn self. You know, I remember many years ago, he called out Winky Wright. He called out Winky Wright. Winky Wright called his bluff. And then, you know, Floyd, he didn't want to go fight Winky Wright. Why? Because there's weight class. They exist for a reason. So I'm not saying these things to hate on Floyd, but I'm only pointing these things out to point out the double standards with Floyd. And I can do all those things and still recognize Floyd as an all-time great fighter, because he damn sure is. Devonte Davis. Let's talk about him. This guy, Mayweather Promotions and Al Heyman, whoever the hell he signed to, because that's a whole debate, you know, is PBC. If you're a PBC fighter, are you with Al Heyman? Or if you're a Mayweather fighter, are you with Al Heyman? And if you're with Al Heyman, are you with Mayweather? You know, he said that, you know, if you're with Al Heyman, you're with Mayweather, and if you're with Mayweather, you're with Al Heyman. I disagree. I think that's bullshit, but that's another video for another day. First and foremost, Devonte Davis got Devin Haney in his weight class. All right? They don't talk about making no fights with Devin Haney happen. He's got Shakur Stevenson in his weight class. They don't talk about no fights with Shakur Stevenson happening. He's got, you know, a lot of guys in his weight class that people will be very intrigued to see him fight. He has Teofimo Lopez in and around his weight. We don't hear nothing about that fight. All we hear is that Devonte Davis sells tickets and he's this big star. And he is, but it's always used as a deflection tactic to distract from the fact that he's not fighting the top guys in and around his weight. You also look at the past. I remember it very clearly because I used to be very difficult and I used to be very harsh on Devonte Davis. Back in the days at 130, a lot of people wanted to see Devonte Davis fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Did Devonte Davis fight Vasyl Lomachenko? No. They ducked him, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but this is like a 3 or 4 year thing where Tank was in an interview saying, "Oh, well, I don't gotta rush to fight Lomachenko. You know, he's old and I'm young and I can take my time, right?" So they ducked the living shit out of Lomachenko when Tank was at 130. Tank has a history of fighting smaller fighters coming up in weight like Hugo Ariza and Jesus Cuellar and Leo Santa Cruz. And now you want a guy who turned pro at 108, who just had his first fight at 122, to go up 3 weight classes in one fight and fight Devonte Davis. It's hate. It's hatred. You gotta call it out for what it is. Like I like Floyd, but Floyd is like a lot of people in boxing right now. They hate Inoue because he's breaking a lot of the narratives that, or a lot of the bullshit narratives that American boxing fans have. A lot of American boxing fans, a lot of fans here in this country, they look at Inoue and they see a fighter. They say, "Oh, well, there's never been a Japanese fighter that's great before," which could be true because he might just go down as the greatest. He might already be the greatest Japanese fighter ever. But Japan is a country with a lot of great fighters. It's just that they're in lower weight classes, so maybe the Americans didn't pay attention to them. But they've always had, go do your history, they've always had their place at the table when it comes to them lower weight classes, you know, flyweight, bantamweight, super bantamweight, light flyweight. They've always been doing their thing. So when they look at Inoue, it really mind fucks a lot of people because this guy is the real deal. He is all that in a bag of chips. And it's so weird. And I gotta call a spade a spade. It's so weird how I keep hearing all these fighters, you know, friends of Stephen Fulton, you know, like Adrian Broner and Steven Jackson. I mean, what are you talking about, a piece of work when it comes to boxing? Steven Jackson, Adrian Broner, Steven Jackson, you know, just all the fighters in America that were saying that they were going for Stephen Fulton. They don't want to give Inoue his just due. They don't want to give him his credit. they're giving Stephen Fulton credit, which, by the way, he does deserve credit for being brave and going to Japan and taking this challenge and trying to fight this cold-blooded, you know, monster, to put it, you know, very frankly, monster in Naoya Inoue. But the fact that Fulton has been getting more credit from the fighters for losing in Japan than Inoue got for beating the dog shit out of him, it really goes to show you, like, what this is all really about. Mayweather's comments are not about things being on a fair and even playing field. It's not about, you know, showing respect to a great fighter. It's about Floyd trying to remain relevant and stay in the headlines. It's about Floyd trying to be holier than thou, and none of us holier than thou. We all fall short of the glory of God. And you want to fight Devonte Davis because you just want Tank to be in a big fight, and you have some sort of, I don't want to say hate. I don't know what's going on in Floyd's head. I don't want to say that, but something about Naoya Inoue and the way he's doing things is rubbing you the wrong way. And so yeah, like I was saying, there's things about the way Naoya Inoue is going about things that are bothering Floyd Mayweather. And you know, that's his cross to bear. It's not mine. Listen, I'm a Naoya Inoue fan. I am a Devonte Davis fan, and I'm a Floyd fan. And I'll probably be one of the only people that makes a video on the subject that can actually claim that. Like, I actually like Floyd. I'm a Floyd fan. I like Tank, and I like Inoue. Everyone who's going to talk about it either hates one of the three, you know. So with that being said, if Floyd really means what he says, then why don't we let's do this. Let's do this, right? Because 122 to 135 is 13 pounds. So that kind of a move for Tank would require a move up to welterweight. So why don't we do this? Why don't Devonte Davis go up to welterweight and fight Jaron Ennis, right? That'd be a great fight. I know Floyd loves Jaron Ennis, so go fight Boots. Go fight Boots. You know, let's go dare to be great. You know, and if not, then just be silent. Be silent about Naoya Inoue, because it's just hate. It's just I don't even listen. I don't even like saying that. I don't even like using that word hating or hate or anything like that. I honestly think when people say someone's a hater, or like when people get in my comment section and accuse me of being a hater, I just think they're soft as hell. And we have a lot of soft ass people in the world. That's just the truth. But like, he is hating. Floyd is hating, and I'm saying that based on what we know from those statements, how he's acted in the past. You know, like I mentioned it earlier. He hated on Jeremy Lin at the peak of Jeremy Lin's popularity just because he was Asian, just because he was having a great week of basketball in the NBA and it was the talk of the league for, you know, a couple weeks. He was hitting on him. He then, you know, was saying Pacquiao was on steroids, and then hired a strength and conditioning coach in Alex Ariza for the Pacquiao fight. Come on. Now you're hating on. Now you're telling Inoue to do something that you wouldn't do against Golovkin or Winky, right? You didn't want to move up and wait to fight Golovkin and Winky, right? Yeah, you were a 5-weight class champion, great fighter, never take that from you, but you didn't scale that high. You didn't go and do all that. So, you know, just cut the bullshit. Cut the bullshit, Floyd. Instead of worrying about Naoya Inoue and Devonte Davis, which, by the way, if it happens naturally, like if Inoue becomes a featherweight, wins the title, you know, maybe goes to 130, wins the title, something like that, and it naturally just happens, and Tank and him can meet in the middle somewhere and make a great catch weight, in a year or two, then of course you look at those things, and it would be a massive fight for boxing, and I would never be against something like Devonte Davis versus Naoya Inoue if it were to happen naturally. But for you to be forcing it after his first fight at 122, knowing that he turned pro at 108 pounds. It shows that Naoya Inoue is such a great fighter that he can trigger the whole a big percentage of the boxing community here in the USA just by existing and knocking people out and just doing his job, because that's really what he's doing. He's just going to the gym, training hard, doing his job, and then you got guys like Floyd saying he needs to do things that he never even did. So if Floyd is asking Naoya Inoue to do things that Floyd never attempted to do in his career, then that must mean Naoya Inoue is better than Floyd Mayweather. It's got to mean that. right? Because Floyd never went from, he never jumped 3 weight classes in one fight. Never. But he wants Inoue to do it. Floyd never fought Golovkin, but he wants Inoue to do something comparable to that in one fight. So let's cut the shit. He wouldn't even make the damn Devonte Davis Lomachenko fight. They put Devonte Davis. In fact, that was when I mentioned Tank fighting Cuellar and Hugo Ariza and these kind of guys. When he was fighting all those guys, those smaller guys coming up in weight and just getting those knockouts, that's when Lomachenko was in the weight class, and that's when people were calling for the fight, and that's where Floyd had him. So instead of making the fight, that fight, and seeing what Tank could have did at 130 against another great fighter, a guy that at that particular time some people thought was the best fighter in boxing, even me, for a period of time, I thought Lomachenko might have been the best fighter in boxing, was the best fighter in boxing, and he didn't want to make that fight happen. So hypocrisy, double standards, and yeah, that's just what it is. And you know, I think Floyd likes the attention, so he accomplished what he wanted to do with this video. He got me to talk about him, so I hope he's happy. And he's getting a lot of people to talk about him, so I hope he's happy. But at the end of the day, Floyd has to look within. And you know, I know he's a very narcissistic guy, but you know, he needs to look within and find some sort of joy and happiness. Because when I watched that interview with Ben in Fight Hype, yeah, he's got the money. Yeah, he has all those great things, those material things, but you can't take those things with you. And on top of that, those things can't satisfy you. They can't satisfy your soul. They can't. So, you know, hopefully Floyd gets to a place in his life where he can finally start to appreciate some great fighters. The way people like myself have grown to appreciate him in the years since he's been gone from boxing. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it on that note. That's just my thoughts on the matter. God bless Floyd. Respect to him. Great fighter. God bless Tank. Much respect to him. Great fighter. I had a great time watching him fight Ryan Garcia live this year. And much respect to Naoya Inoue, you know, who's holding it down for Japan and being a really big ambassador of the sport. You know, he is one of the faces of boxing, and you got to respect Naoya Inoue. You don't got to like him. You don't got to be his #1 fan. You don't got to have #1 pound for pound. You don't got to do none of that. But what we're not going to do, what I'm not going to have in my presence, is someone tell me that my prescription of glasses doesn't work and that I'm not watching a great fighter. And I'm not watching a guy who is one of the best fighters in boxing. And then I'm not watching a guy who is doing pound for pound, all-time great type of stuff. So, you know, I'm gonna leave it on that note. You guys take care. Give me your thoughts down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True Street Sports Empire. We're here at the Hatanaka Boxing Gym in Nagoya, Japan. And for more great videos just like this one, make sure you guys click right here.